Hello, it's another episode. I'm very happy to be back, and I'm very happy that you are back. Hey, now everyone's happy. It's, I don't know, man. It's one of those things which I find very strange, right? When I read the news, I try not to, but then I'm like, oh, what do I do now? Okay, do I have a morning routine? Do I have something to fill up my day? And then whatever everywhere you go, if you want independent information being presented in a factual way, then you have to pay for a subscription, and everyone's trying to get your time and your attention, right? Like the New York Times is like, yeah, if you want more of this, it's kind of like everyone's putting a barrier. They're like, okay, we'll give you 3 strokes, but if you want the full hand job, you need to pay, right? It's become that model which the industry had in place many years ago, is now becoming for everything. So I'm like, fuck, man, I just want to read the full thing. And then you have Google News. So I'm like, what do you do? And when you do read the news, it's like, okay, what is true, what is not true? And it's really looking like a chaotic, unstructured textbook that you have to learn from, because it's literally like, what the fuck's going on? Like, what, the Prime Minister of England was caught with a drink in his hand during the lockdown at a party? Like, okay, I don't know all the details, but what the fuck are you talking about? And then you're like, oh, the Chinese tennis player, is she safe or unsafe? Then you heard about genocide or an attempted genocide. I don't know what attempted genocide is, but you heard, and it's just like, what? And then you hear about 3 new species discovered, 5 new species fucking extinct. Like, crazy. So I'm just trying to figure out what is. I mean, yeah, I was listening to Joe Rogan after this controversy, right? Like after his entire sort of hubbaloo, whatever the word is, all this entire outrage with his misinformation, all this nonsense that people are like, how could he do that? Like, dude, there's 1,500 episodes, man. You pick what you want to listen to. And if that's not well-rounded, and I don't know what well-rounded is, right? Because you talk to everyone and anyone, and if he's had the privilege of knowing important people in their field, fucking why not use it, right? Just because you didn't get a chance to be interviewed by him, now stop whining like a little bitch going, I have a petition that is misinformation. And that's where people will find it. They will find that thing in your insecurity, your vulnerability. You go like, these are perfect people, the perfect pawns for us to use to get our agenda addressed. And that's what these people have done with Joe Rogan. And I really liked when I heard him back with on this episode of the Akash thing, and he was like, you know what, dude, fucking the offline world, that's what matters. And that's exactly what it is. Just this thing, because I don't know, I'm do I have the numbers on this podcast to be a threat to the establishment? I don't think so. But the people like you who are listening to it, I'm so glad that you enjoy what I put out. At least I hope you do, because there are some people who don't give a fuck, and they'll just like, you know what, I like my fans, and fuck anyone else who comes in the way. I don't know, man. It's just too much noise, as I keep saying. But yeah, it's a weird place, and I think I'm figuring out more and more of this thing where you can use I think a perspective shift, which is important for anyone who feels like, what's the point, right? Because I think there's pleasure, and there's excitement, and there's a benefit. And I'm not, please, at the point, I'm not going to preach, but I think I found a way to find pleasure in the things that I do. It could be even, I mean, this podcast for sure, but it could be even things like me trying to get back on the golf course, right? It's so fucking difficult, because I finally figured out how to not make connections, how to make good contact with the ball on the driving range mats. And these are, mats like which have like a little bit of like afro. Did I say afro? Fuck it. No, I'm AstroTurf. That's AstroTurf, and or it's a little bit of like whatever, like thing. I mean, I'm gonna get cancelled if I would be Afro. And it's one of those things which I got really proud of. And then I went to the golf course, 3 balls, and it was just digging under the ground. It's horrible. So then I was like, fuck, is this the end of the road for my golf thing? And then I came back and I was like, no, this is how you look at this activity as a way to learn about yourself. Don't get frustrated. Don't give up. Don't sort of take your self-worth into account. This is just a game. If it means you play badly, it doesn't mean you're a bad person. It's good things to have and good things to remind yourself through these activities, whether it's whatever sport you play, whether it's a walk you like to take, whether you're waking up, it's a change you make. Like I used to wake up at 9, now you can wake up at 6, whatever drive. I think as opposed to using these massive kind of indicators of how you are as a person and how your benchmarks are being evaluated by yourself, just keep, I think, reminding yourself that you can enjoy, and I think the simple things in life. I think a lot of people and a lot of greater men and women before me have said this. But on that note, I'm going to keep this short because I have a lovely person joining me on the podcast today, as you could tell from the title, Mr. Atul Khatri. I've known the man, I've known the gentleman for quite a few years. Privileged to call him a friend, and he's a lovely human being, and he's done really, really well for himself in the space, entertainment space, from stand-up. He's sort of branched out. He's done a little bit of acting. He's done a little bit of ads. I don't know. He'll tell you why he did that. But he's done a bunch of things, and his outlook on life is something which I think all of us can learn from. And I think he's a very excited young man who goes about his day, and I think he spreads joy to whoever he meets. I think that's one thing about Atul I really admire. And a lot more besides that. We talk about where he is, where he was, where he's going, the things he's up to. And I'm really glad that he's on the SoapyRao show. So thank you, Atul, and thank you for listening. And you're in for a great conversation. And as always, do share this with someone you think will, oh, what's wrong with me today? Do share this with someone who you think will appreciate it and like. I don't know, is that the right way to say it? Do share it with someone you think will like the conversation, and I appreciate it as always. Till the next time, goodbye, God bless. I even forgot to do the kiss properly. Cheers, and catch you on the other side. Take care. Bye. Mr. Atul Khatri, so good to have you on the podcast, my friend. How are you?
Thank you, Mr. SoapyRao. How are you doing?
Good, man. I'm so glad that, I got you to get on the podcast. And in such short notice, it's amazing. Like, people who are 1% as popular as you don't reply to emails. They're like, sorry, how many listeners do you have? But you were like, in an instant, were like, dude, I'm on. And that's really kind of you. Thanks.
That's because I'm a huge fan of yours. I've told you this many a times. I have told comedians that Sandeep is one of the best comedians in India.
Oh, dude, that's
because
come on.
I've seen you working so, we performed so often earlier at the comedy store and at Canvas sometime back, and I know how you used to play the room. I mean, I have. I really look up to you and your comedy and how you used to do it so bloody smoothly. And as a young comedian, I used to look at awe of you, that how the hell does he do it so nicely, so smoothly. Thank you so much for having me.
Dude, of course, Will, it's a pleasure for me to have you on because I think it's one of those strange relationships, right? Because you joined you started doing comedy full time, and then you joined the East India Comedy Group, and you took sort of a different trajectory, right? Even though, in fact, you and I used to meet more often when you were doing your auditions, getting to the sort of 30-minute sort of the thing which they call the best in stand-up back in the day in the comedy store format. And this I remember so clearly, like this was the kindest gesture, like from an audience member, because I always had this issue, right? My mic wire would get stuck in the stand. And I remember once, it was always like a bit of a few nervous seconds before the show would start. I'm like, oh, fuck, and I hadn't addressed my eyesight thing. And then I remember in the front row as an audience, and you came and helped me out, and you got it done. And I was like, dude, this guy is so kind, because you didn't make it a big deal. You're like, hey, dude, here's the mic. The stand is out of your way. Go ahead and do your thing. Because you knew, but it was such a really nice thing that I always remember. And then, of course, I met Shaguna and you, and then your daughters, and then you got into this sort of the weekend schedule of being a full-time sort of at the Comedy Store, and then you just exploded, finding your market. And how's the journey been? And maybe how did that sort of the lockdown dampen, because you were riding a high, and I'm sure you still are, but I mean, there's so many aspects to your game, right? You have a social media game. You did that thing, which was the positive news during the lockdown. But I mean, we'll cover all of it. But you seem to be one hell of an excited young man who keeps trying out new things. And I really like that attitude of yours. You're like, yeah, okay, I'm a stand-up comedian, but I'll do this as well. I'll act in ads as well. You don't give a fuck. That's amazing.
Yeah. Because, so see, I mean, I have lived one life of 25 years in my corporate job. Then I got into comedy, and I look at it as a new life. Like, I'm just like 10 years old in this industry. So I started actually my first open mic in 2012. In Feb 2012, actually, just 10 years now. So, and then as things started progressing, and I actually look at everything genuinely with a very positive angle. Like, and I actually don't say no to anything. So if I get a commercial, if I get an acting job, some social media thing, I say yes to everything, as long as obviously, it's within my framework of what I want to do and what I don't want to do. So, and I think it has been great. Like even honestly, in the pandemic, I mean, just to give you this only positive news that you talked about. Actually, I was in the US in March 2020, just before the pandemic. I reached America on 10th March 2020. With the assurance from Mr. Donald Trump, because it's just a flu, it will go away in 5 days.
Huh.
And I had a tour of 15 cities of my new show called Daddy Cool, which I had, built over the time. And if going to America, a tour, takes like 6, 8 months of planning. So that planning I reached
Yeah.
on 10th March.
Oh, you had
And
planned, this wasn't a holiday. You had planned an actual
it
working
was a,
trip.
it was a, it was a 18. I was going alone, 18 city tour of Daddy Cool,
How
and
exciting, dude. I mean, that must have been, as you said, the anticipation was crazy, right? Yeah.
yeah, it was crazy, and we were doing well. I mean, honestly, we were doing well. And then when this pandemic started, news started clicking, then the ticket sales obviously started slowing down. But anyway, I reached 10th March, and by 14th March, the world started closing. And I
Yeah.
think by 15th March, I was back in India without doing a single show. I
Ouch.
lost like crazy amount of money, at the like sort of end of the year or the beginning of the year or financial year. Unlike you guys, I look at years starting from financial year. So you guys,
No, I
but
mean,
it's
I think all of
Jan
us
to December.
are.
I look at April to March.
No, I think we all laugh at the mindset, right? Oh, he thinks financially, but I think we all had to, right? Because you come into this situation where it's of course uncertainty for everyone, but most people clamp down on spending, but you've just come off this huge wave of spending on promotions, on planning, and I mean, for anyone,
Yeah,
however
yeah,
big you are, producing your own tour is expensive. I mean, the budgets will vary depending on whether you do arenas or 10 seaters, but it's still a crazy kind of commitment to come off and going, what? No shows for another 1 year? I mean, at that point, we didn't know, but no
yeah,
shows for another 6 weeks? Shit, even every week counts because that means a corporate gone. In your case, because you quite busy with the corporate calendar, right?
yeah,
You
yeah,
do
yeah.
a lot of those. So imagine they saying, "Hey, our budgets are closed." You going, wait, what the fuck? My tour's cancelled. I spent money. It must have been quite a shock. And of course, you are much more established in your life as well. I mean, your kids are grown up. You have a home, so you're not like living from paycheck to paycheck. But still, what was the thought process you went through at that point?
No, honestly, I consider myself to be a fairly mentally strong person, but that 1 week of March really, I started getting anxious. I remember on 15th March itself, so we have a family WhatsApp group, Shaguna, me and the girls, there's four of us, and I put up over there, hey guys, it's going to be a tough, long haul.
Huh.
Please, start, curbing on your expenses, So,
Yeah.
and fortunately, the family we all, stood up together, and I was back in India without doing a single show on 15th March, and the reason for actually starting only positive news was because see, I'm an old man.
By the way, you keep going on about this. You're not an old man, okay? I know a lot of people who are half
Old,
your age, who live a more sedentary lifestyle, who have and most importantly, I'm going to say this because I 100% back the statement. I think who have an it's your outlook, right, which I really really admire, because there are people who can, maybe your age, maybe my age, maybe younger, who have this sort of fatalistic thing that, oh, I'm entitled to this particular sort of expect things in life. I don't get it, oh fuck the world. I don't think you have that. You have this thing that every day you want to learn. As you said, you'll take anything that comes your way, and whatever it may be, the motivation behind it. But I really like that, and I feel that keeps you young, man. Every time I speak to you over the past 12 years, I mean 10 years, it's almost like a breath of fresh air, right? It's not like, oh man, comedy sucks, man. That's a typical narrative, right? I mean, and I've been in that boat, and I'm first to admit that you go through that and you kind of let the comedy fluids get to you, right? Like, where it's not just about making people laugh, but the other paraphernalia, like how many tickets you sold, are you getting representation, why aren't you on YouTube numbers, Amazon Prime, all that, the conversation, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
you
yeah.
didn't, at least for the most part, at least from when I remember all the conversations we had, it was more like, let's look at the bright side of life, right? What's going on? How's family? And you come over and you drop off mangoes, and I'm just like, fuck, man, this guy's now become a friend. I mean, it's amazing. I really cherish those things, and
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not
I
saying it
remember
to
the
sound
amazing
cheesy.
lunch I had at your house with family, man.
Yeah,
And you
exactly.
ordered the food from which is that place? Yeah, that
Nandini. Yeah.
from Nandini. You ordered some special food for me. Thanks so much. Yeah,
No, I think
and
this was more important for me at that point. I mean, of course, it was good, and if you get shows, the happier, the more popular you become. But I really uh, enjoyed those conversations, right? I remember once you had this lunch in your house, which I don't think any comedian's done for all the comedians at that point.
Yeah.
So it was all of us, I think, at that point. Tanmay, Neville, I think there was Sapan, obviously,
Yeah, yeah, and
Sahil,
I
and
remember
Kunal.
you calling me that one day saying, "Hey, there's this young comedian from Bangalore. Can I bring him over?" And that was Kenny Sebastian. I said, "Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, sure, please."
So
You know,
Praveen
because
and
I
I
think he
were
was,
correct,
yeah,
and Kenny joined us. Yeah, and you were in your little in your out garden, all of
yeah,
us sitting, and literally at that point, Aditi was there, and Varun was there, and I think we
yeah,
had a
yeah.
show that evening.
Tanmay, Rohan, the ASC boys were there. We had so
Shakya,
much
yeah,
fun, man. Like,
it
I
was
would
a
love to do that
blast.
anytime again.
Serious, and you know what I liked about that gesture is like, dude, okay, yeah, we're all trying to get gigs and more gigs than the others, and trying to do more shows and get more popular. But that kind of that gesture was really like, hey, cool, but we're all in this together. Let's have a laugh, and I really like that. And I think that's been your attitude in at least what the scheme of things with comedy, and it's nice.
Yeah, because I genuinely see, as we know, the stand-up comedy is it's everybody's individual voices. So
Mm.
really, you can't really compete. Yeah, unless they're two 18-year-old guys, both from Haryana, both speaking Hindi, both doing comedy, both maybe having the same premises, they are maybe fighting it over. But, we could all be talking about the same topic and yet have so many different views and opinions on it. I think that's what making, so I really don't look at, genuinely, I don't look at, okay, it's competition as such. But yes, I'm just saying that because the industry is so new, I have actually come from a computer industry which is so highly competitive, where we used to cut each other's throats for like, $100 margin and things like that. So I didn't want that
Yeah.
to, come in into comedy as such. But yeah, coming back to my story, so I came back and I wanted a routine to my life. So I wanted to wake up at 8 o'clock, start this. So I started this Only Positive News, which actually, honestly, it was just my way of getting over pandemic. So I used to wake up in the morning, read the news, and make my points, record the video. I learned editing on my own. So I started
Mm.
editing those videos and started putting out these daily clips. And I think there was a need of the hour because a lot of people are so anxious and there was so
Yeah.
much uncertainty around that they felt that, and it did very well. So it really gave me a routine to my day. So basically, my doing that Only Positive News was my own way of coping, with my anxiety, which I was going through at this time, because at that time there was so uncertainty. There was so much uncertainty. We didn't know when the shows. All my shows got cancelled. I came back from a cancelled US tour. So Only Positive News gave me a routine to life because I like to wake up early in the morning. I used to wake up early. I used to shave. I used to wear good clothes. Record
Mm.
the video. I learned editing because of that. And and obviously because of which people were liking that. Every day I used to hit like close to 150,000 views on my Instagram
Are you
IG video.
serious?
Yeah, yeah, man. Because people
That's
were,
crazy.
oh my God, they're like, this is the need of the hour. Like, thank you so much for doing this for us. And I was actually doing it for myself, to be honest with you. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah. No, but
so
it showed, right? It showed that it wasn't a gimmick, like in the sense you weren't trying to think, but it was literally like, okay, I need to talk and I need to get this off my chest and I need to sort of find some sort of ray of sunshine and all this kind of news. And it was pretty,
yeah,
glum at that point, right? Like you heard about migrant
exactly.
workers, the way they were being treated. It was a horrible situation. Like, and people just one side of the news saying, "Oh no, you're fine. It's just a flu," and other side you're saying you're going to die. It's just what the fuck, right? No, but I think that's one thing you said, which is very important. Is that you said you wake up, you have a shower, you shave. I think that's one thing which is very important. I think a lot of people listening I think that's one thing you do is you've kind of had a discipline, right? Like, and as a comedian, I didn't have that. Like, I would rage till 4 in the morning, wake up at like 1 o'clock, and then get ready for the show. So, as a comedian, my day would start at like 7 p.m., end at 4 a.m., and that would continue. And then that caught up with me pretty much. 2019, 20, I was shattered. But you seem to always have like this thing where you do the Bombay Marathon, you jog, you stay fit. And how important do you feel now with all your years of wisdom working in corporate? What are some of the learnings you would give someone, say, right now who's newly joining comedy or newly joining the entertainment space?
First of all, obviously, it's a tough business. It's a serious business, just like any other profession. If you be a lawyer or a CA or things like stand-up comedy is exactly like that. Writing jokes is extremely difficult. You have to have a discipline in terms of writing good, writing original. Number two, I would recommend people to go and watch. I think the biggest mistake a lot of young comedians don't do. I mean, do is sorry. What a lot of mistakes young comedians do is they just sit at home and watch the those Netflixes and those, Amazons, the Bill Burrs and,
Uh-huh.
the Anthony Jeselnik and things like that. They don't go and watch comedy which is happening in your, in your city.
Yeah.
Like I remember this, I tell you, there was this, I think 2 years just before the pandemic, there was this one day, there were four guys shooting their specials. Okay. So there was Veer Das shooting his famous special at Famous Studio in Mumbai. There was Rohan Joshi shooting his special for Amazon. There was Khamba who was trying his 1 hour special for the first time. It was like Saturday where 4 o'clock. So I attended all those four shows. I told Shaguna, let today Saturday, leave me alone. 4 o'clock I attended Waves, then I went to Rohan's show. I went to I think his show at 6 o'clock at in Bandra. Then I went to Rohan's show in again in Bandra. Then at 10 o'clock night show at Khamba's show. And
Who was the
just
fourth person? You said Veer, Rohan, Kamba, and
Kenny Sebastian.
oh, he was recording his as well.
He
Okay,
was
this
recording or he was trying his 1 hour for the first time or things like that. He was doing like
right.
a trial recording of a show at the Cuckoo Club in Mumbai.
The
And
Netflix
so,
one, the one he
yeah,
put up
so
on
I
Netflix.
actually took a driver and I don't have a driver. So I had a driver for the day because parking at all these places. And I went to each of those four shows. The point was saying is that, and my thing was just to learn when I went to see V's, I was because you were shooting for Netflix, lighting, the camera angles and things like that. I was going there as a student to learn, I had
It's
already
crazy,
watched
yeah.
I'd already watched Wade's show, so I knew the material, but I just went to see how a Netflix shoot happens. And
Yeah.
the point I'm trying to tell you is that Sandeep, I was there for these four shows. And in the four shows, other than like I met Daniel at one place, Kamara at one place, some other comedian, but the junior comedians or the young comedians on the scene, they were not there. And the thing. They were saying, oh, maybe we'll do our own spot somewhere. Sorry, this is a day you go and watch these good comedians recording their specials. Go there, buy a ticket. And I bought a ticket for Veer. I didn't ask him for, this. Rohan put me on the guest list. Rest of the others on the guest list because they were in the comedy clubs. But I'm just trying to tell you, go there and watch. And none of these, younger comedians were there because I know the scene. They would have met me there. I was there. I didn't spot any young comedians in any of these four places. Because they were
Yeah.
maybe doing their own spots. And you know, I'm telling you, I learned a lot. Like I remember when I started doing comedy store, I used to come and watch you guys, you know, sometimes on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, like four shows back to back. And you say, hey man, are you an idiot? We are going to do the same material. But every time when you interacted with the crowd, obviously that was fresh. The way, and one time, I think when I started comedy for 6 months, I should just get scared of how to put the mic on the mic stand back at the head of my set. And then slowly I learned how smoothly you do it, when your set is ending, just quickly go quietly to mic stand, bring it up, bring it to the center, put your mic back, and give it back. Those are the rules of the comedy store. You put the mic back in the mic stand, which is, I think, very, very important. So I watched comedians, doing the same routine for 4 days in a row. I should pay that $700 of $500, which Charlotte used to charge us later on. Actually, I fought with Charlotte and told her, listen, please, if you want to better the comedy scene, please make it free for the comedians, budding comedians, so they don't have to pay. And they may have to stand and watch if a show gets sold out. Please don't charge comedians. And she actually made it free. But in spite of that, comedians used to not come and watch other comedians. They'll be sitting
I
at home.
think
I think that's a big, big learning I got, and I give this to everybody. Please go and watch comedy, what is happening in the city. You'll know what people are laughing at. You'll know what are the other comedians talking about. And I think that's
yeah.
very important.
And it's such an important thing to understand that people now take a lot of those for granted, right? Like when you say things like putting the mic back into the middle, or you're sticking to time, or you make sure the lighting is right. I mean, we had to do, and I'm not saying this like, oh, look at what we had to do for the scene, but it really was that. Like we had to set up a show from scratch. We had to convince people that having a comedy night is a good idea. Like what they're like,
Absolutely.
what are you saying? You're going to get three guys or a guy and a girl to come and talk without music, and you want me to call that entertainment, and you want people to pay tickets? What the fuck's wrong with that? Was the approach, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But I think that, as you said, that the point is we didn't get that many opportunities, and we didn't have any frame of reference within India. I think Veer was doing a lot more comedy than us, but he was the only
CJ
one.
was doing, CJ was
Yeah,
doing.
CJ and Veer, but they weren't. I mean, they weren't really that. They were active, but they were mainly doing bigger theaters, whatever, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the thing is now with all this exposure, like when an international team comes to record Veer's special with like the know-how of how a special should be shot, he's getting a director from wherever. I mean, this is the stuff that we didn't have access to, right? I'm not just
Correct.
saying mentors, I'm saying resources, how things are done. And it's not just learning how Bill Burr delivers his bits or how Louis C.K. sort of has a repetitive pattern that brings out a certain kind of humor. I mean, of course, those are great, but it's like me watching Tiger Woods on YouTube and trying to go to the range and hit like him. It's not how it works, man.
Yeah.
You have to
Exactly.
see what's happening. I mean, yeah, how your feel for the tradecraft is, and that only happens by either immersing yourself in what's around you or, as you said, getting on stage. But sometimes it's good to even take a step back and not just say, you know what, I'm going to listen and not just talk.
Exactly. Like I'll tell you, Aziz Ansari, the comedian, American comedian, he had come to India, I think, again just before the pandemic. He had a show here at NCPA in Mumbai, and before that, he came, I think, 3 4 days before, and he was workshopping his material every night at Coco Club, and we all came to know as comedians that he's doing like a secret show and things like that.
Oh, nice.
I'm so I think the show, his main show was on a Saturday, but he came on a Tuesday or Wednesday, and I went and watched every night Aziz Ansari, like Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, workshopping the material. And I'd already bought tickets along with Shaguna to go and watch him at NCPA, you
Yeah.
know. And I could see when I watched him at NCPA, the bits he was trying about India and all that, how that set developed and how he delivered it at NCPA. So as a student of comedy, you have to learn this. For example, if I'm going to do a big show in New York, for example, that means I have to go on 4 days before and try the local comedy club spots and see whether my material is hitting or not hitting.
Yeah.
And I think that's very, very important, rather than, saying that, I don't, no, I'll do my own spot. Aziz Ansari is good, but I don't like his comedy. Yeah, you may not like his comedy, but he has proved his worth. When bloody an
Yeah.
American comedian has come, go and watch him live, how he's workshopping his material.
Yeah, because after all, he's been immersed in a scene that is about 100 years old. So there are,
Exactly.
of course, advantage, of course, okay, clearly, there
And
are,
you know how brutal the New York comedy scene is, and the fact
yeah.
that he's lived through that, he's come out of that, and done well for himself. I think
And I think
that's
that's
very
one
important.
trait comedians. It's easy because I kind of slipped down that slope, and I'm sure you also have had moments where it's easy to feel like the victim of the industry, right? Like, oh, I'm not going to get it because blah blah blah. End up finding someone to blame, whether it's another group, whether it's another comedian, or they don't like my material because I could be like, because I'm from Bangalore, they don't like flying me there, or I'm too edgy. It's very easy to go down that path, but at the end of it, the only one who gets hurt with that mindset is you, right?
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
And I always tell comedians one thing is that don't try to get validation from other comedians. Your validation has to come from your audience. How See, the thing is, I always see that, we as comedians, we have evolved. We watch all these. Again, I'm saying these words, these dark comedians and Dave Chappelle and Jesselneck and things like that. But your average Indian audience, they're watching Kapil Sharma on TV. They're coming there and watching you.
Yeah.
They're doing their own work. They don't think about comedy like how you and me think. So we guys overthink comedy. Comedy has to be in fact simplified. Like today, till today, in Mumbai, people will still laugh at a Gujarati, Punjabi, Sindhi, Marwari joke. Some audiences are maybe still laughing at a Rahul Gandhi joke. You say the word Rahul Gandhi, people erupt, which means that the audience has not really evolved. It will take a time for them to say, like, obviously, some of the audiences in Mumbai, in comedy clubs and all who come, the comedy lovers, they want to be challenged in terms of the material. But the regular guy is doing his work here. I mean, he's watching comedy in 3 months. He doesn't want to come there and listen to deep topics or dark topics and things like that. He's come to have a good time. I once went for an open mic, Sudeep. See, one thing which I always do, which I always recommend, like whenever I'm free, whenever I have a free night or I know there's nothing at home happening or no social thing, I always make it a point to go and watch comedy.
Mm.
Like yesterday, I'm telling you, this is I was walking on the beach, and suddenly I saw Veer's Insta story that he's workshopping his material at a comedy club in Mumbai.
Mm.
So I immediately messaged the comedy club owner, and I said, "Hey, can I come and watch, please?" And please do that. Don't just because you're a comedian, don't think that you have the privilege of walking into any company. Please ask, request. I requested the comedy club owner that, "Hey, can I come and watch Veer?" He said, "Yeah, yeah, sure, please come." And I went and I watched it as a student of comedy. Veer is workshopping his material. He did 1.5 hour of you know new material there which he was workshopping. Now I want to now I will see when Veer comes out with his special how I saw the journey of that joke, if you may call it, at
Yeah.
Navish Matthews show, but that's how it the joke travel, how he cut down his parts, how did he, polish his part. I want to learn the craft, And again, I'm telling you, yesterday when I was there, it was only me. There was no other comedian, watching the thing. Hey, you also follow Veer, you know what he's doing. Come and watch him. Whatever said and done, I mean, people may not like his comedy or his style or whatever. Other comedians. It's all subjective. But come and watch a person who's probably not probably he's India's most successful comedian here. He's been on the Conan O'Brien show. He's got 4 Netflix specials. He bloody removed a special in the pandemic, recording from his home. You know.
I think that's very important because it's another thing that you get caught up with, right? I don't like his style. I don't like the material, so fuck
Yeah.
him. And
Yeah.
I think that's true. Okay, fair enough. But if someone has really done the grunt work and has really gotten to a place with whatever reason, maybe it's luck. Of course, it's a lot of perseverance. Of course, it's a combination of things that get you to a certain place. You're likable, you're exportable, you're consumable. So all these things, it's not in your control, but there are certain things in the control of that artist which he or she has really, really sort of drilled down, right, and got their thing together. So those are, it might not be how to write a joke, but it's how did the other things that they do get them to where they are. And I think that's really important, man, because many times you feel, right, oh, I've done this bit, man, shit, like Punjabi, this thing for 1 year, I'm tired of it, I'm going to get edgier. But I think what we forget is that it's so new, the concept of stand up for Indian audiences. So now more people are coming out saying, hey, I watched Atul, so now I want to see what the scene is like. So now there's a kid or me saying, hey, Atul's already done the Sindhi joke or the Punjabi joke. I'm going to talk about, hey, what's it like to fuck a chimpanzee? They're like, hey, why? This is not what is this guy talking about, right? So it's so many elements and variables in India. Like languages are different. There are people who prefer regional comedy. There are people who prefer more sort of edgy in the sense. People will evolve their taste in comedy, but the numbers just keep coming. The new people who are exposed to comedy are growing by the day, right? Because they see the likes of you or Anubhav Bassi, or they see Kannan, Kenny, or they see my show. So when people see my show, like more a different kind of demographic comes out. When they see your show, a different demographic. So
Correct.
there are still people who don't know how comedy works. So you're right. It's such an important thing to keep in mind, because in America or in England or wherever comedy's been around for a while, sometimes you'll see acts or comedians, I don't know if this is good or bad, with the same set for the past 10 years. And they've nailed it to a perfection.
Exactly, exactly. And I think that's very important, to always be a student of the subject. Like you have to be a student of comedy, till the end. You can't say, hey, I know it all now. I don't like this. I don't know. Arey, are you mad? I mean, just the fact that somebody's recording a special, by an Amazon or a Netflix, like when I went to the Reels show, when we was watching, I was actually just looking at where the cameras are. I went and spoke to one of the cameramen because I reached early. Yeah, what is the lens
This
you're
is his
using?
Netflix special, right?
Yeah, what is the lens you're using? How is this lighting? Is that, so you learn. And I went to think that, hey, when I shoot my Netflix special, I should be, or when I shoot my special, I should be knowing all this. So I think it's very, very important, to just sit in, just, learn Indian comedy. I'm saying very easy to sit on Netflix. Is the easiest thing to sit on Netflix and watch these American comedians, British comedians. Obviously, you should also do that because that's what
Yeah.
inspires you.
Yeah.
But see what the local scene is. I was telling you, once I went for an open mic in Mumbai, and it was like, just a small room in one of the small comedy clubs. There were 30, 40 people in the audience. It was on a Thursday or night or something. And each of the young comedians who came up on, or the open micers, I would say, not young, there were some of senior ones also. First of all, everybody came on stage and said, what are you guys doing here? Are you mad? There's an open mic night. We're trying out new jokes. Every comedian came and said this thing. So after some time, the audience thinking, yeah, man, are you fucking crazy? Why the hell did we spend 300 bucks or $4 come to watch you when every one of you are saying, why have you come here tonight? That was one. Secondly, I'm an old school thought, because I've learned at the comedy store. People were dressed like as if somebody had just, out of the bed. They're not even, forget they're not even put water on their faces. And
Yeah, I
they
totally
come
get
in
you,
with
dude.
such
It's
shabby look. It's
yeah.
like, hey, I'm cool. I'm a comedian. I can come out like a chappals and, tone shots and, t-shirt. And you could see people in the audience dressed. I saw there was a couple who were maybe having a date. The girl was well dressed. The guy was well dressed. He wanted to say, come on, let's go for a comedy show. I'll take you out for dinner. And each and every comedian coming on the stage, first of all, dressed so shabbily. No sticking to time. The show was supposed to start at 8:30. It started at 8:45 or 8:50. Everybody was coming. And the worst part, each comedian was coming, doing his set and running away. You know, In Comedy Store, we remember if you finished your set, you have to sit in the audience as member and clap and cheer for a fellow comedian, even though you've heard the joke 200 times, the same joke, you know. But because your clapping, helps to just build up some positive energy in the room. Here,
That
every
changed
comedian
over
will
the
bring his
years,
set
dude.
and walk out. Do your set, walk out. I met
That's
that
very New
comedian.
York, though. I remember when I did the open
Yeah, yeah,
mics in New
very New
York.
York,
Yeah.
exactly New York. And forget that. I mean, the worst part is these comedians are coming and saying, "Hey, these are the thoughts which are just what I'm going to perform are thoughts." Which and they're carrying their laptops on stage, their pieces of paper on stage, mobile phone on stage, and I remember when we went at comedy show, Tom used to tell us, "Hey, you fuckers don't get any paper on laptop. Please memorize it and come. You may bomb on stage, but memorize the shit. Wear good clothes, shave. Wear close shoes. No chappals were allowed.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
shorts were allowed, and things like that.
No, in the sense,
Because
dress up for.
it's an
I mean,
entertainment. We are
respect
in
your
the entertainment
audience.
business, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
respect your
exactly.
audience. I mean, of course, if the audience acts cocky, then yeah, that's how you deal with it in a comedic
That
sense.
should
Yeah,
absolutely,
but not
absolutely.
like. I mean, I don't get this, man. Like, of course, you know me. I enjoy my drinks before, during, and after the show. But
Yeah,
there's a point at which if it crosses too much, you're like, dude, hey, what are you doing? It's work. Don't fuck around. Don't fall and slur and fall off the stage. That's a bit much. So you
yeah.
sometimes do cross the line, but you have to always remember that people have come out, they've spent money. Maybe they might not get your jokes. There's so many other elements, but at least the variables that can be controlled, which are presentation, the way you kind of keep the
Exactly.
room together, and I remember this. I mean, maybe not all the time, but we would sit back. We would put on that TV in the green room and watch the comedian, right? And we're like, oh
Correct.
God, this joke he's doing again, fucker, but this will kill. Watch, it's going to land. Oh, fucker, Varun Thakur is killing with that bit again. I don't know how I'm going to follow him. But it would be a sense of we would chill before the show, we would talk during, and then after also we probably go for dinner or do something or drink, or it was
Correct.
an entire evening with comedians. But it became more and more, the guy would come, do his act, and then he would bounce, or then the green room would be so crowded where people are just bitching other comedians, saying, oh, why aren't they doing this, that it was a very bad vibe to go into before getting on a stage.
Correct, correct. It became that way later on, actually, with the Laugh Club. But with the Comedy Store, if you remember,
Yeah.
only the acts and the opening, the supporting acts were allowed in the green room. You couldn't
Yeah.
enter the green room till you're a part of the act.
And that was
You
a
know,
beautiful thing. I mean, it was a place that you had to work to get to, right? It was not.
exactly,
You
exactly.
earned that respect of the green room to be there, right? But then it became this thing where one person would be sitting there with like their smelly feet on the fucking makeup table, and then I don't know, man. It became really, as you said, the word I think is
Enough of
shabby.
Kunal Kabra. Let's go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it was not just one person. I think all of them, dude. I'd come from Bangalore dressed up in like boots, and I'm like, am I overdressed? What the fuck's going on? Like, it became shabby. I think that's a very nicely,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
think,
exactly.
nice word to sort of make it concise. Everything, the approach, right? There, people wouldn't play music before the show. The energy would be thing, and as you said, they'd come going, "What the fuck is your face doing here?" Like. I'm like, oh, dude, you've really like. This is like a sense of entitlement.
Exactly, man. So yeah, I mean, I just my thing is that take it very seriously. It's as serious as any other profession, and come to this line only for long haul. Don't think you'll get laid. Unless you're Sandeep Rao, young Sandeep Rao. But otherwise,
Quick correction. I like that
yeah,
save. No, no.
unmarried single Sandeep Rao. Yeah, unless you're as cool as him. Otherwise, there's no. It's very very serious work over here, man.
Trust me, comedy, you neither get laid nor paid. So you make sure that your game has to be on point. No, but you joined this entire sort of experience with the East India boys, right? Like the East
Correct.
India comedy thing. How
2014. Yeah.
yeah, that was a big part of your career, right? Like it ended, you went solo maybe
I
2019.
2017. No, 2017. Yes.
Okay, so that was a good 3 4 year run, and that,
Exactly.
I mean, that gave you a good catapult into the space that you got into finally, right?
100%. I just enjoy so much things are. I mean, so much learning I got at the East India Comedy. Because these guys will come out with sketches. The editing part, the camera, the videos, and things like that. Even though me and Saurabh used to don't really like those sketches,
Yeah.
used to think it's a waste of time. But just the entire process of and also working in a group, jamming together. How do you write together? It has all
Yeah.
helped me because sometimes today also for some assignment I have to get into a writer's room where there are two three writers together. And my East India East India comedy experience does help me. And I think just, I've always been with a very, very open mind. Like I remember just coming back to again stand-up comedy coming out of East India. Like once I remember Aditi Mittal was doing her solo show called Mrs. Lutuke, where she used to, get into this character of this
Yeah.
old lady, talking about sex and things like that. And then that required a lot of costume changes for her. She used to come as Punjabi girl and then get into this old lady, then come back as Aditi Mittal. And she wanted somebody to open for her, rather fill for her, in this.
Right, while she does the
And it
act.
is
Yeah.
so you have to come up, you have to go up, do a 5 minute bit, come back, and do a 3 minute bit, and come out to do a 5 minute break. And the light used to come up. Aditi's ready. Come on, now get off clothes and get her back on stage.
Mm.
And uh, and I like signed up for it, and very, very, I was so excited to doing that, which helped me also when I look at it. Like now, when you do some corporate shows, and they say, hey, we've got some award ceremonies happening, and we want to come in as instead of one big 30-minute break, can you please break your thing into three bits of 10 minutes? And I said, yeah, I can do it because
Mm.
now I know how I'll structure my jokes that you start high, end high, always. So you require three highs to end with. So that's how you structure your material, and
Dude,
and then you
I
can
know
close at
exactly.
any time. Also, like what Comedy Store taught me is once the light is on, you have to get off within that 1 minute when
Yeah,
the
yeah.
thing, which means that you write in such a way that otherwise every comedian has a closure joke. If suppose the light is on and how comedy store used to take it so seriously. I remember once killing a night. I went some 3 minutes overboard and I went on. I thought, Tom would hug me, but Tom bloody fired me. He said, what the
Mm.
fuck do you think? You went 3 minutes overboard? I said, yeah, but the crowd enjoyed it. It's just 3 minutes, Tom. He said, dude, it's not 3 minutes. It's a lot. It's not about you. It's about the entire show.
Mm.
You are not the bloody hero. There are three heroes on top over there, And that's what I'm trying to say is the timing. So Aditi's example taught me that you could do that. So I look at every learning. I'm genuinely I'm saying when I got my first commercial, I have never bloody acted. Yeah, I've been a computer business. I was not even a comedian. So when
Yeah.
I got my first commercial, and you know I learn. I go there and learn because that part of acting in commercials, pure acting, that is such a bloody tough line. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
you have to audition, you have to do that. And here I'm getting this role on a silver platter just because I'm a comedian,
Mm.
And that also I love. I just did actually a commercial 2 weeks back. Again, with for something like Alia Bhatt. I was not in the same frame as her. Thing is that I'm okay doing it. I will not say, oh no, I'm Atul Khatri. Why the hell should I do this? Why the should I do that? I said, okay, man, do it, yeah. As long as you agree with it, it's absolutely okay. You see,
As
even the
long as
Shah
it's
Rukh
down
Khan or
your
Amitabh
alley when
Bachchan,
it comes to content.
yeah,
Yeah.
all
You.
of them
Yeah. Yeah.
because when their movie comes out, they very pimp it like how. I remember
Yeah.
when I sometimes pimp my shows, I send WhatsApp messages to every group of mine, every like email I'll send out email blast. Hey, I'm having a new show in your city. Come and watch me. And then sometimes, they say, hey, yaar, you're Atul Khatri. Why the hell are you doing that? I say, are you mad? Have you seen Shah Rukh Khan pimping his movie? When his movie comes, he's Shah Rukh Khan. When he has to pimp his movie, who the hell am I? So it's
Do you
very
think
important
that
to just be
this
there.
coming into this space
Uh,
at this particular age that you did come into it, right, which is what 12, 10 years back, I mean, you had all these things. You'd already started. Your family was, your kids were older. You had spent 25 years in corporate, so you had learned your things, right? You had learned how the world works, as opposed to joining comedy when straight out of college, right? Many people might do or whatever,
correct,
right?
correct.
Do you think? How do you think that particular point of entry when you did join or decide to take up stand up part time, whatever the journey, however it shaped out? Do you think the years of all these things that you experienced helped you, or did and do you
Yeah.
think it would have been different if you started younger?
I think it definitely helped me. It kept me more grounded
Hmm.
because you're talking about at that time there were like some 50 comedians in India all fitting on a WhatsApp group. If you remember that party which we had at a house
Yeah.
was one group. It was all on maybe WhatsApp.
The group is still there, I think,
It's still there. It's still there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm saying that I come from a line where I'm telling you to sell some computer solutions. It's so competitive. You go into the corporate call you at 10 o'clock, and what he has done is he's already called all your competitors at 9:30. So you enter the waiting room. There are already six of your biggest competitors sitting in the waiting room.
Hmm.
And you should do it purposely so that you see all the competition and you anyway drop your plans before you come inside the negotiation room. It's a strategy a lot of these guys, purchase guys used to do.
Yeah.
I'm from that line. Okay. So, uh, I know how competitive that line is, and some of the learnings which I got into this was, first of all, time. Respect time, respect other people's time. Take it very, very seriously. Uh, I remember, like, whenever I used to go and watch you guys perform at the comedy store, when I didn't used to have spots. Every time I entered comedy store, I used to go to the sound box and tell that guy, "Hey, hi, I'm Atul. I'm sitting in the audience." Just hi, say hi to him,
Yeah.
and I would have buy a ticket. Now, what happened many times was, because I sat and some spot didn't come, they used to come to me, "Hey, in the interval, hey, this spot has not come. Do you want to go and do a
Mm.
spot?" You know,
Yeah, 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 yeah,
I
yeah.
said, yeah, 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 I would love to do it. I said, okay, you up, come inside the green room. And then I used to get inside the green room, start preparing my set and go and do it. So you have to earn. You said earlier about luck. I generally, I generally believe that luck is to a certain extent, but you have to work very hard at it.
No, I think
You know,
luck is also helps when you have the right intention, right? Like if you're out
exactly.
to
You have to be
insult
out
your
there.
fellow
Yeah,
comedians, or like one thing I've noticed you do, and I make it a point. I don't know where it's just something I do, man. It's not whether it's with my for my career to advance. Is that whether as a guest, if I go to a restaurant, or whether it's as a comedian, I go to a club where the staff is as fucking important as the audience. In fact, they're more important than you at points, because
exactly.
if you, I mean, they run the show. They are keeping the
Yeah,
people flowing in, flowing out. They make sure the establishment, which you call a comedy club, is running because of them. So if you go there and act cocky, saying, "Hey, fuck you, man. Where's my this thing? Where's my drink? Where's my food?" People don't realize that. Oh, they're like, "Yeah, but what? He'll get fired next week. I can get him fired." Why? Because that's exactly when you said luck, right? That's not luck, but that kind of attitude and behavior will ensure that luck doesn't favor you, I feel.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And I read this in this book, the Comedy Bible by Judy Carter, which is supposed to be I read the book very early, and she talks exactly the same. Don't ever fucking mess around with ushers or the people serving drinks, because it's because of the selling of the drinks you get paid, and if you remember, who's the guy at the comedy show, the guy who used to run the sound box? I forget his name. It's on a tip
who's
of my tongue.
who's
Uh,
Sal or
Sal.
yeah,
The amount of
Salvador?
comedy which Sal used to watch, no, nobody
Yeah,
must have watched. Like,
seriously.
Charlotte didn't know who. Charlotte would not come there every night, but
Yeah,
whenever Charlotte comes, she would ask Sal, "Okay, who are the guys who killed over the weekend?" And he
yeah,
would say, "Okay, these guys killed over there. This guy's comedy is bad. This guy's set up." He knew the structure of the joke. You
yeah,
know.
yeah,
Like, he used to give me Sal. He used to be the tech guy, the sound guy. Used to tell me, "Hey, why don't you flip your joke instead of closing with that? Why don't you close with this? You'll get a
yeah,
big laugh." And I tried it on. It worked, and I bloody went and hugged him. I said, "Thanks, Sal."
yeah.
I wrote that joke for 8 months. I didn't think about that. You thought it in such a minute. I'm saying, because these guys watch so much of comedy, and always you have to respect them. I mean, and that you should respect every. Like, I make it a point every corporate show. Whenever I finish my show, I go to the sound box in the end and thank everybody, because it's thanks to him. He gave me the good light. He gave me good sound. Whatever. I think it's very important to do
And
that.
that goodwill, man, I think that's something maybe you also realize in your business, right? That, yeah, of course, in computers, it's cutthroat. Every person who can shave off a few rupees off the bit of the deal is even more favorable, right? But I
Exactly.
feel, I'm sure, if I'm wrong, contradict me, please. That if the sometimes if your business, your the approach to the business, with your ethics, the way you treat your colleagues, or maybe even the people who work for you or work for that big brand, if they like you, you can even be at a higher price, but people will favor you because of other things which are non-business driven decisions.
Absolutely, I totally agree with you. That, see, price is never the issue. Price is never the issue. I mean, you go to Taj and have a Coke. It costs you bloody $300.
Yeah,
But people are not idiots to go and order or pick it up from a mini bar, because they know there's a value attached to it. So you bring value to the game, and it will come about it. Uh, uh, a comedian had once told me that I read about it also, that never. Uh, like, one of the mistakes a lot of comedians do is that tonight they'll be at a comedy club performing at 250 rupees. Then next, after 1 month, at an auditorium where the charge is 700 rupees for a ticket, and the audience gets confused. So don't pay those 250 rupee rooms, ticket rooms. Pay it, but don't see that the name is not on the lineup. So I have seen it, like, that's how you build.
uh-huh.
Like, today, what I have done is, my minimum ticket come and watch me at a comedy at an auditorium is going to be 500 rupees. Maximum is 1500 rupees.
Yeah.
And even when I do a show at a comedy club or some guy says, "Hey, I want to hire you. I'm going to sell tickets." I make a point with him. What are you going to price the ticket at? And he'll
Yeah.
say, "No, I've got a sponsor. I'll price it at 200 bucks." I said, "Fuck off. I'm not doing it 200 bucks. You have to keep the minimum price as 500 bucks because that's my price.
Yeah,
That's
if you
an
don't value yourself, why the fuck will anyone else value you or think of even coming for
Exactly.
that show, you know?
You can say I've got a fixed fee. I did a show in Dubai where I was getting a fixed fee, but he was selling tickets. I said, "What price are you selling the tickets for?" He's saying, "I have for my patrons. I'm going to give it free of cost." I said, "Balls, you're not giving an Atul Khatri show free of cost because they have to pay something." He's saying, "No, but I'm going to cover up with my drinks and with my bar and my
Yeah.
food and all." I said, "Balls, you're not doing that. You have to charge a price." And I fought with him. He's saying, "What's your problem? I'm paying you your money." I said, "No, it's not a question of price. Because tomorrow when I come to Dubai after 6 months selling an auditorium, these guys say, 'Oh, we saw Atul Khatri for free.' I don't want that, man. I want them to say that, 'Oh, we
Yeah.
paid,
Yeah. Yeah.
50 dirhams or 100 dirhams for an Atul Khatri show.' And that's how you demand price.
Yeah.
You increase your own value as such. Yesterday I said I've
Yeah. No, it
talked
makes
about
a
the
lot of
I
sense.
went for Veer's new comedy workshop. He was workshopping material. His tickets were 800 bucks there for a workshopping material. Still it was sold out.
Crazy. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what Veer has done is he has built
Yeah.
that value that if you want to watch me in a workshop also you have to pay minimum 800 but or come to watch me at NC pay 2000 bucks. You know, and
I
that's how
mean,
you
that's
should do
what
it.
he did through, you know what, fuckers,
Years
everyone
of
is sitting
years
at
of
home.
work. Yeah.
Yeah, years of work, more than 15 years. And also, like, you know what, I can sit at home and create a Netflix special. So people are like, whoa, this guy. And as you said, it's not about the content, it's about um, how he goes about doing it. So many times people are like, wait a second, dude, this guy. And sometimes even people will be like, wait, I don't think he's the funniest, but how the fuck is he getting 5 Netflix specials, right? It's the curiosity that drives it, and he's, of course, I mean, hats off to um, all the sort of things he's done as well, right? Because he's gone in
Exactly.
so many directions, and I think that's also indicative of like what you've done as well. But
They open rooms for us. They open places for us.
yeah.
Like even like comedians like Zakir, who's these Hindi comedians. Like or Amit Tandon or Zakir, people are doing pure Hindi comedy. They've opened up rooms in like Bhubaneswar, Patna, God forsaken small places, Kanpur, this, that, where comedy never existed before.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they're opening their home. People see Amit doing a good show. They say, "Oh, okay, Amit is good. Let's get Atul. Let's get so and so. Let's get so and so." Now there's a appetite, increasing for comedy in your city.
Yeah.
It's extremely important.
Did
Also
you ever
coming
go down the thing? I mean, your act is predominantly still in English,
English.
or
Yeah,
do
yeah.
you,
I have
right?
different
Because you
aspirations.
didn't really go down that
Yeah.
path, right?
Yeah. I didn't go down the path. See, I used to always do English as such. I used to always add a lot of Hindi words in my things. But I've stuck to that because it helps me. I think there are now actually if there are very few English comedians like you, me, maybe Veer, Azim. There are some few comedians who do mainly in English with few local words here and there which we throw just for it. But I'm not going to go to. I'm not. I think in English. I can't. I can't. Problem with a lot of these Hindi comedies like Amit, Vipul, and all had earlier when because Comedy Store forced them to write in English and speak in English and write a bit. The comfort was always in Hindi. And now with Geo and the market just exploding, I think they have really hit a very different kind of an audience. Like Amit is on TV now. So many
Yeah.
of these guys are doing such big shows. Because that's what it requires, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I have very different aspirations.
Of
I
course, of course.
I want to play global rooms. I like, for example, when I went from America tour in even 2018, and I
Hmm.
remember it was Seattle. I was performing. It was a sold out show, 350 people, and I was in the green room, and my wife Shagana was also there in the audience, and she messaged me, "Hey, there are like some 40 Americans sitting on the front row, like Goras, whites.
Mm.
So, and it didn't trouble me at all because my 95% of my set is in English and little bit those words in Hindi. And every time I use it as a joke to talk to the American, this means this, you know.
Ah, yeah, yeah,
And you then it becomes like a running gag throughout the show where every time you say
yeah.
a Hindi word, you go back to them and you maybe change the word, and things
No,
like that.
that really resonates with me, that approach, because the thing is, it's how you're brought up as well, right? Like my entire thought process is in English. I think in English, so it's not really fair for me to go. And that's another thing, right? To be desperate
Sandeep, I
and
think
go
we
with the
lost you.
trend, saying,
Yeah,
"Oh, now everyone's doing Hindi," and then
I think
learn
you're
Hindi.
dragging.
Because how much have I learned Hindi? It's going to take years before I can start thinking in that language and do justice to it.
And once you learn such a powerful language like Hindi, there are words in Hindi, which are so powerful, which you have to know Hindi very well to exploit those words, which I don't know. So, I don't want to, I'll look, in fact, I'll be stupid if I will sound stupid on stage when I try to use those words. I have to know Hindi very well. And I
Yeah.
don't, I mean, because then only you will exploit the language properly, use words which are funny and, resonate well with the crowd, which I
Yeah, and
can't
in a
do.
job which is all about words, I mean, you can do act outs, etc. But when it's a predominantly wordsmith kind of genre, you every word counts, right? And
Exactly.
it can make the experience that much better, the joke that much funnier.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, but the thing is, you have experienced such a different kind of space in the comedy thing, right? Like your audiences are of a certain thing. So, did you ever find a bit of a disconnect? Like, say, for instance, you have the EIC collective, which were across age groups from you to Sahil. There was a big age difference, right? So you would pull in different kinds of fans or different kinds of people who liked your content. But then when you went solo, did you find that people came with expectations going, wait, hey, this is the guy from EIC? And then you would do the stuff that you wanted to do because that's what stand up is. You talk about your life. Did you find a bit of a transition there? Was it difficult, or did it
No, not
make you
exactly, not
revisit your
exactly.
comedy?
No, not at all. Basically, thanks to AIC, I got a very young fan base. I still have a very young fan base. My
Okay.
Instagram, I think 80% of my followers are under the age of 25 or that kind of a thing. So I have a very young, plus, first of all, I work across all platforms. So I'm on Facebook also, I'm on Twitter also, and that's I do because honestly, I enjoy doing that. It's not forced on me. You
Yeah.
know, I I started doing comedy because I used to put these funny Facebook posts. People say, "Hey, you're very funny. Why did you get into stand-up comedy?"
Yeah.
This. So I still do that. I get a very different audience from Facebook. I go on LinkedIn. I go on Twitter, which is fairly political. I put up my every day of my political shit over there also. Just to rouse the bucks. I prefer doing that. Enjoy it. I mean, but having said that, I've tapered down, I've sobered down a little bit more on Twitter. I used to be very much more vocal, naming words. Now you can say the same joke, without naming the person. Also, people get the reference.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I try to keep myself legally, you know. Like I will never say honorable prime minister's name ever, but I'll use
Yeah.
euphemisms to people will name. When you say chai wala, people know who you're talking about. But I
And
think
you go
legally.
after your comments, right? When people comment, you don't keep quiet.
Yeah, sometimes I go after, but off late I've reduced because earlier I used to get like, I used to just do it for the fun of it. Honestly, it's like when somebody's irritated at you, with a troll is irritated and you poke him further, you know.
Yeah.
I get sadistic pleasure in that. Not that,
Oh man, I usually, I mean, I usually don't even have people commenting. That's how, invisible I am on the internet. I mean, sometimes I'm like, can you at least fucking comment so I know that people are listening? So Kamra's episode, which came out, this guy has commented saying, "Oh, it's great that what's that? It was such a nasty comment. I felt bad, and I was like, you know what, dude, fuck this guy." But it was like, it's nice to see that Kamra. Oh, it gives me hope that someone like Kamra can dedicate 2 hours on this channel, which has absolutely no subscribers. Podcasting, here I come, game on. And I was like, oh, oh. And I was like, I wish I had Atul, man, to just give this guy. But yeah,
I would have probably said I want 2 hours with your mom or something. Sorry, but yeah. Edit it out, please.
I don't know, man. I just didn't want to open this can of worms because, how many ever years? I'm 12 years into it. I'm not, it still hurts.
No, but actually, I've got told so often that now I've really become thick-skinned, and I don't really, in fact, honestly, I don't read comments. Even on my YouTube videos and all that, I just don't read. I don't comment. I know
Yeah.
what I'm doing. There are these guys over there just wanting to, they want their 2 minutes of fame that try to be one up on you, and then you'll respond
Yeah.
to them. And most of the time, when you respond to these guys, this guys, oh sir, thank you for responding. I am such a huge fan of yours. That's the typical thing which you get.
Yeah,
And
what
I
the
say,
fuck is
shut
going
up,
on, dude?
man. Come
I
on,
want to
man.
get your point on this. Like you said, a lot of your fans are in that demographic, right? Like just out
Hmm.
of college to early in their career. What is going on with them? Like like it feels like as an outsider looking at what the kind of discourse going on, or like what the entire conversation in that group, it's almost like subculture. Is it that they have this entitlement? Are they outraged? Are they confused? What is the predominant thing? Like,
I
are they really sort of, because of the information they're exposed to? Are they well rounded? Are they more stable? Have their head on their shoulders? Because you hear conflicting views, but from being a person whose content they consume, what do you get a sense of? And you have
no,
kids in that
I
age group as well,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think they think they're too privileged. They can comment on anything because they have a tool in their hand where they can just comment on anything. Because in fact, I have a set on this where I said that earlier it was so difficult to comment on anything. You have to write a letter to somebody. If you
Yeah,
upset with Manmohan Singh, you have to write a letter to him.
yeah,
Find his address, go to the post office. Whether the letter will reach him or no, fuck, you never know. But today, your celebrity, the politicians are in front of you on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter. You go and throw stones on him directly. And honestly, none of this, you're right. A lot of these guys are privileged. They had to have this. They've been protected. They have been given their bread, butter, jam every morning by their mom, and comes and kisses them and gives them badam, and drops them to school, picks up from school. They have a very sheltered life, most of these guys, and the
yeah.
result of which they feel that they don't know what the world is, and that's I mean, honestly, sometimes very, very, and I feel really sad for them because the kind of social media pressure they have on them, to be
Yeah.
out there, to always, have the best food, have wear the best clothes, travel in the best locations. My God, yeah, what kind of pressure they have. I mean, I really, honestly, sometimes feel sad on them. Shagun and me have tried to keep our children very much to our best of our abilities under control, you know, to try to ground them always, try to, say that life is just about that. And fortunately, I think our children are shaping towards that. But I see some of the kids out there. My God, there is like so much pressure on them. Yeah, I mean, plus you have to look good always. You
Yeah.
have to, especially among the female sex. The constant pressure to always have your best face out there. You can't, and that's so sad. Yeah, I mean, they stop playing, they
Yeah.
stop going out, they stop interacting. It's all on their phones. I mean, it's crazy. Yeah, I mean, it's really, really sad. Honestly.
I think the problem is that everything's magnified hundredfold instantaneously, right? If it's good, it's massive. If it's bad, it's tremendously bad, right? Because it happens with the instant connection of an internet based platform. But another thing is also, I think it's easy to get irritated with these people, these kids, because oh my God, they're so frivolous, they're so privileged, they're so entitled. But as you said, man, I think the poor things, they're fucking hurting inside because
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
they
I
don't know
mean,
who they are. They don't know what they need to be accepted, and it's a constant push, and it's a constant reevaluation of why am I not getting validation? Why am I not being accepted for who I am? And then you go, who am I, right? Because if I'm this person, Facebook doesn't give me these many likes. If I'm this person, I'm
yeah,
getting more likes. It's such a
this
tough
instant
time to
gratification
live
is
in.
so scary, man.
Yeah,
Also, the kind of information they're getting, they're getting bombarded with information. You know,
yeah,
like suddenly they'll get something like, okay, so and so happened, and they have to react to it. They don't have
yeah,
knowledge, they don't have prior knowledge, they don't maybe not be having prior knowledge. That's one aspect to it. But second thing also, one thing I've encountered, again I'm saying, as an older guy in this industry and seeing a lot of smart kids out there, really, really smart, excelling, not in comedy, generally I'm saying, who
yeah,
have
yeah. Of course.
fairly, read. Also, I think they're, growing up in a time which is much more better, which is much more, I would say, woke, which is good also, because when we were growing up, we should not, think of anything. We should just say unfiltered things, not knowing it would hurt people.
Yeah,
And even if it hurt, we'd say, fuck it, and that guy also would have been hurt and said, "Chal, fuck it, everybody does that to me." But now,
the world is
you should
unfair.
realize,
Yeah,
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 I have also, as a word is said, decluttered and unlearned or relearned or whatever hell that word is,
absolutely.
and learn back again. So that is been a process of my journey, and I thank stand-up comedy for it, because otherwise I would have been a simple businessman still selling computers somewhere without knowing many of these things which are politically right or not, or correct to say or not say. So comedy has taught me
Yeah.
that, and I thank comedy for that.
And I think it keeps because it's something I felt like I've taken a bit of a break since my last show I put out. It's just like I'm not thinking comedy, right? Like in the sense there is a certain way you look at the world when you're thinking comedy, when you want to put
Absolutely.
together material, right? And I've
Yeah.
just been really comfortable doing this, and I enjoy doing this. Like, it makes me happy, and I hope it makes the people I'm talking to happy, and gives me a sense of perspective of what they're going through in their lives, and also helps me learn about myself, and maybe going, okay, this is the way you think about things. Maybe there's another person who thinks about it, and maybe I'd like to hear their point of view. And I really enjoy what they have to share, like what you had to share just now about this whole thing about when you make it us versus them, or when you say, I want to go for another comedian show, not for the jokes, but I want to learn other aspects. Everyone has something to bring to the table, and I really like that opinion, that perspective that you have in life, right? That no one is discounted for whatever reason that you might think they aren't really worth your time, right? But it's interesting, man, because I think everyone wants attention, as you said. Everyone wants to be heard. Everyone, and the world encourages that kind of thing. And it's a reward system, right? We want you to instantly react, and you'll be punished or rewarded. And what a fucked up way of living, right?
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Do you feel comedy, this way of thinking, constantly keeping your ears and eyes open to new opportunities, does it give you a sense of energy, or does it at points, do you feel you're constantly living for others?
No, man. I am very, very energized every morning. Like today, I was so excited waking up because I get to talk to you. Then I have something else going on in the evening. So I really enjoy this. I am energized, and I think you have to. Like when I was at my workplace in my corporate job, I should tell all my employees, every morning when you come to work, are you happy you're coming to work, or you're not happy?
Yeah,
If you wake up
yeah,
every morning and say, "Oh fuck it, yeah, I don't want to go to work," no, could
yeah,
be a variety of reasons. Maybe your salary is not good. Maybe your job profile is not good. Maybe you stay very far away from office. You don't travel 2 hours to come to office. I said, then please change your job. Don't
yeah,
work with me. But I want everybody working with me to wake up every morning and say, "And I'm going to do this today. I want to do it." And
yeah,
that's how you create a good team. And that's how you are motivated. So I wake up every morning, whatever little positive. Like my sister is a psychiatrist, very famous
yeah,
psychiatrist in Mumbai, Dr. Anjali Sabria, and
yeah,
she tells me, one of the biggest thing in the pandemic this last 2 years, the fact that you and me are still alive, as simple as that, that itself is such a big high, because
yeah,
a lot of people have lost, young people have lost their lives to this pandemic,
yeah,
and
man.
fact, every morning, you think every morning wake up and just thank God that you are alive. Because you could be
Yeah.
one of them. You never know. It was all over the place, right?
I think gratitude is something I've learned, and I think this lockdown, in as devastating as it was and is for many people and for many families, I think ones who are lucky to survive and survive unharmed, I think we should count ourselves the lucky ones, as certain lessons were shown to us, and if we were aware enough, and I think open-minded enough, we should have picked it up. And I think not going back to our earlier patterns of living selfishly, trying to bring down others because we want to get up, all these silly things. And I think what you just said sort of captured that really well. And okay, before we close, Atul, when is this tour happening, man? This thing
Again,
which
I'm
you're going to take
planning
me along
my.
to open for?
I've actually now again started. We are again hopefully looking at July, August, or
Okay.
that time frame again. Or since actually I was planning to go again in March, April now, when this Omicron thing hit, so I didn't want to have again one
Yeah.
more sense of deja vu. So I said, fuck it, let things calm down, let
Yeah.
borders open fully now. Like enough is enough. I
Yeah.
don't know, and hopefully, but 2022 I should be going back to the US. I actually went for a small tour to UK in November, end November. But that
Okay.
also got hit by Omicron. So I was 6 shows I had planned, but last 2 shows I had to cancel because of the rules changed in
Yeah.
UK.
Yeah. 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 That was when they got hit bad by
They
Omicron.
got
Yeah.
hit. Yeah, so then they they started quarantining and all that. And I said, fuck it. And I just did 4 of the 6 shows and I came back.
Okay.
Again, lost money, so I didn't want to lose.
But not as
So,
bad as the earlier
no,
time. So it's getting
no,
better.
no, no. Yeah, yeah, it's getting better. Losing less money. Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah,
also,
yeah, that thing
honestly,
that's
the in the pandemic, because it's a question I heard you asking some other comedians on the podcast also. So I went very heavy on the online also. Obviously, I didn't enjoy it, but I went very heavy on the online. It's like the pandemic hit us on 15th March. 2nd April to 2020, I had announced my show on Zoom. You know, and I said, fuck it, let's understand this technology. Let's understand this. How does it thing in work in thing? I said, but honestly, it's you and as a comedian know nothing like the live art form.
yeah.
For 2 years, this got me through. I mean, I used to do shows. I did a whole lot of corporate shows. I made people play housey. Yeah. Please play housey. Come on, in 2023. That is, here I lost my
Is that is
virginity.
that is that where the hope or the seed was sown for Atul Khatri the comedian?
So I made people pay housing in the pandemic. I like did all kinds of shit. And
Oh,
I
you
said,
did that now
yeah,
after
yeah, in the
this? I
pandemic.
thought you
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
started like back in the day. Oh,
No,
oh
no, no,
fuck.
dude.
Okay.
In the pandemic, some corporate came to me, say, "Hey, we don't think stand-up comedy will work." I said, "Yeah, can you make can you make us play housey?" And with every
That's
number
fucking
you say
amazing.
a joke. With every number you say a joke. I said, "Yeah, let's do it." You know, because I had nothing to do. I had no shows. I said, "Yeah, let's do it." You know, and
Yeah.
it was like 2 and 3, 23. The year I lost my virginity. Ha ha ha. Go ahead. So all that stupid things, you went ahead and
Yeah.
so
And
and
dude, stupid works. I think people undermine stupid. I laugh at stupid. I think it's stupid is good. Silly is good. You know?
I think that the pandemic gave us an opportunity also to rise also to show that
Yeah.
okay because the entire world changed and I thank that I got onto the bandwagon because earlier we all thought that that's going to be the Wuhan model 100 days and then we'll all open up
Yeah.
but fucking got dragged for like 2 years and
Yeah.
I'm glad I went onto this online platform because I have done all kind of shows I have done
Yeah.
pre-recorded shows where you record your show and give it to them and they pay it at whatever time you don't know. I have done shows for 8 people. I've done shows for 6,500 people online. I have done
Nice.
all kind of
Nice.
shows in
Yeah.
studio shows and things like that. Again, it has taught me because I think going ahead, maybe this hybrid model will come because corporates have realized that earlier they could only take 100 people to Goa. Now they can take all their 7,000 people for an online show. Kind of thing. Maybe 100 in Goa, the rest could be beamed on Zoom, the rest of the employees and things like that. And I'm okay
Yeah.
with it. Yeah, I feel that also because thanks to that I made some money in the pandemic. Otherwise, well,
Yeah.
I have 2 children, I have a wife. I need to. I'm in a different stage of life. There is a fixed money which I have to bring to the table every month.
And that's the thing. Like when it comes to a corporate, I'm still okay because a corporate show, even in person, isn't always the best, right? Because there
Correct,
are
correct.
certain rules and regulations that govern what you can say. So I think
Yeah,
that's fine because you can always, and we as comedians, I think we like something to blame. So if the online corporate show is not as good, you're like, yeah, they were on mute, they didn't laugh, or whatever. We
yeah,
like
yeah.
excuses. But I think for me, I still haven't got to that place about my original sort of like the stuff I really want to say. I still I don't know if I can do it for with all the kind of thing because I really like the energy I feel in a room where I don't care about big rooms. I can never fill
Yeah,
up a
yeah,
big room. So like even
yeah.
if it's 30 people, I like that thing to go off script. I like to feel that, and
Correct.
I just don't get the feedback because of course I can't see whether they're smiling or not. But
Yeah,
and if
yeah.
they're on mute, I'm just like, dude, what the fuck? But I get exactly your point. Like you can sit and reach out to the world with this technology, which is I think frankly mind blowing. Might not be the most conducive for stand up, but it gets sometimes as you said you can earn, and I felt the same way, like sitting what I can sit here, I just have to wear a nice shirt and sit in my chuddies and I can get paid. It's brilliant.
Exactly. One thing we have to realize is one other thing which forgot to tell you. I think the line got cut. And what is the learning I got from my business to comedy. One is thing is about money.
Mm,
It's about money. I think you have to be finally find creativity and all that is beautiful. You have to
mm,
work for that. But at the end of it, you have to pay your bills. Okay.
yeah.
And one of the things which I got, I think. Which I also taught a lot of these younger comedians in EIC about money, about getting your money on time. I used to remember we used to give credit unnecessarily. Okay, pay us after the show. I said, why? Pay us before the show because that's the norm. So
Yeah.
a lot of these things which I got, and I'm really happy with that because that's how it should be. Because otherwise, I'm telling you, the market also is wanting to take you for a ride. You give a
Mm,
person 1 minute leeway, they will take you for a ride. So you have to be very prudent, with your money, with your kind of thing. Like honestly, in the pandemic, one of the things was income obviously dropped, but actually, if you look at it, even expenses dropped. I
yeah.
would have filled my car full tank, I think, once in the last entire year because we were not going out. There was no
Yeah.
dining out. There was no holidays. There was nothing. So we saved money because there was no extra. We were eating at home,
Yeah.
and everything was shut. So
Yeah, even something that's like, oh, I'm going to buy a nice dress, but where are you going to wear it, right? Like, I mean, you
exactly,
can
yeah,
feel.
yeah, yeah,
But, and that's the thing about money I find, right? Because I was in that thing going, fuck it, I'm here for the artist, I'm here for this thing. But very quickly you realize that, oh, people take you for a ride, even within the comedy, the comedians, right? They're like,
exactly.
this guy will just spend money on us. And the thing is, what cheeses me off is, dude, if you spend and you are frivolous with your money, you know what you're doing with it. Okay, you'll get burned. But people commenting on that, then taking advantage of you. And then when they have the money, they don't even, they're so sort of tight fisted. They don't want to help anyone. Or I'm not saying help like, bring them up and take care of them and sponsor them. But I'm saying the generosity doesn't have to mean that you have to be a miser, right? You can be nice. You can buy a person a drink here. You don't have to one side say I hate money and other side not spend it at all. You know what I mean?
Exactly, exactly. Yeah.
It's
I
a very
totally agree
weird
with
thing.
you. Yeah. So I think it is very important to keep your money in check to, see whether nobody's taking you for a ride.
Yeah.
I think it's also a very important part of it. Otherwise, there's no point of doing the art unless, then you're going to die as a pauper. There's no,
Yeah.
there's no point in it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's always something I think about, right? You always hear about the stories from the rags to the riches. You never hear of the people who remain in the rags, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, end of the day, yeah, man. I salute people who can balance both, who can be authentic to their art and also have enough money to live. No, Mr. Atul Khatri, I think you and your approach to life and approach to comedy is something I find truly fantastic, and I'm very lucky to call you a friend. Thanks for agreeing to do this, and all the best, man, with your special, with the tour. And I hope there's no further, uh, dates being postponed and things going haywire. So all the best with that,
Thanks,
and
Deep.
lots of
Always
love to
such
your
a
wife
pleasure
and
to
kids.
talk to you, and all the best for your near future and the good news which you're going to give us in May.
Yeah, man.
And regards and love to your family, man.
Cheers, brother. Thank you so much, and I'll
Take
talk
care.
to you soon. Take care.
Take care. Bye.